Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Paul Webster, the Webster Report. Well, I thought I'd just come on and share a few views. Good afternoon. Somebody posted this, not that long since, to be fair, but this is a Freedom of Information request that somebody put out asking to see how much was in the national contributions pot. You know, the stuff that we all pay in. And, you know, the national insurance pot at the moment stands at 24 trillion. And for those of you that want to see it, there's the actual Freedom of Information request that was put in that states that there's 24 million in the pot. But what it also states is which was paid into the investment account in practice used to reduce national debt. The term in practice is a very, shall we say, it's a term that can be played with. In practice, yes, that's what they can do. They can do that, but they're doing nothing with it. And the term in practice doesn't mean that they are doing anything with it. This is just one way that it makes people think, oh, that's what they use it for. That's not what they use it for. You can quite clearly see that 24 trillion is sat there, yet there's no funding for the NHS, which is where what pot it comes out of. No funding for the NHS, no funding for pensions. Yeah, there it is, 24 trillion. And people are being told that we've got to be in, you know, there's got to be austerity and the government have got to take this, that, and the other off us. What point do we have to get to before people will grow up and take some responsibility? You don't know everything. People pay, everybody's got to pay. That's all I hear is everybody's got to pay for the gas, water, and electric. How? Tell me how. What are you going to pay it with? It's a debt-based, negative interest economy. What are you going to pay it with? Debt? Don't think that'll work. So again, we come back to bills of exchange. This innocuous bill of exchange legislation that people say is a load of nonsense, is a load of bollocks. Yeah, it controls everything from a promise at the newsagents for a Mars bar to promising to pay the creditor off for your house. People don't understand that the debtor and creditor are the same party, and that's you. It's not the bank. It's nothing to do with the bank. The bank are trustees to the agreement between the creditor and the debtor, and you agree to pay the creditor so much a month plus interest. And you sign that. What are the banks doing? They're just not telling you things. So we skip back to this 24 trillion. People want to know about austerity. You have to take responsibility for the austerity that's being created on a daily basis. You have to take responsibility for it. If you are paying gas, water, electric, national debts, if you are paying them and you do not live in a commercial property, you are acting as debtor. You must act as creditor and set off the debt. You need to know how to do that because you are taught to pay. So if I promise to pay my gas bill, if I promise to pay it with my cash, check or debit, it's a promise to do something with the national debt I have an obligation to, but I do nothing with it. Interest is added to the debt, national debt goes up, government step in and take stuff off me. I'm taught for them to do that. Whereas if you get the paper bill, attached to the paper bill is a giro check. That check needs endorsing. Make sure it's the correct negotiable instrument because there is a bank giro and a joint giro. Both say bank giro, but one has value and one needs value added to it. It's the same instrument, but one has value and one doesn't. So Attached to your paper bill for a non-commercial agreement is a joint giro credit check that requires your endorsement, and upon your return, your agent, you are not the utility company's customer unless you run a business. Your agent must now set off your debt, zeroing your gas bill, lowering the national debt. No austerity. This sounds really, really simple. It's because it is. It's harder to action it. Very easy to understand. Remember, debt-based economy, creditor. You must act. You must do something with this. Acting as creditor, you lower national debt, no austerity. So that means that 24 trillion would not even be being used for national debt, because you can deal with the national debt. You just don't know how to act. Again, this is only, scraping the top of what is going on here. But you can quite clearly see we're talking about privatization, and this isn't working, that's not working. There's funds there. I shouldn't use the term money, because we don't have money. We have credit, we have funding. The factor is, it's how can we utilize this? At the end of the day, we don't know anything. I think the most of what we can actually say for 100% is how little we actually know about this world, about this reality. We take everything at face value. Why do you drive to work in your car and shit in your toilet? Because somebody told you that that's those things that you use for those things. What if somebody controlled your information so much that you would actually consent and volunteer for things without you even knowing? Just remember, the English language has been patented and sold all around the world for civil law. Why? We have 8 words to describe one thing. Japanese say, I'll have 1 word to describe 8 things. There's a lot of shenanigans that you can do, a lot of fuckery that you can do with the English language. Driver, simple term, isn't it? Are you the driver of this motor vehicle? Driving, steering wheel driving, driver, car, motor vehicle, driver. Yeah, I'm the driver. No, you're not. Driver is not a man or a woman in their language. It's a person. A person is a business. A driver uses a motor vehicle on public roads for monetary gain. Bus driver, coach driver, taxi driver, delivery driver. You're not driving if you're not earning money. That's how you must start to think. A copper doesn't understand law. It isn't a requirement for a policeman to understand law. It's a requirement to interrogate and get the correct information. You produce a driving license, simple. It's all about how you act and how you've been taught to act. Until we start addressing this and looking at ourselves and stop pointing at other people and blaming other people and political parties. I mean, I'm from a mining town where my granddad and my dad would be spinning knowing that this mining town is now conservative. It's just what it is a sign of the times. People wanted out of Europe. There was only one party that was saying that. It's too simple. People are far too busy, their lives are kept far too complicated. They need time to be able to sit and process all of this. You're kept too busy for that. But it's coming to a point where you're going to have to. People who think that they own houses, you own a piece of paper, you own a title to a property, you don't own a brick or any piece of mortar in this. You can't in this system. It is not allowed. So if you're not allowed to own anything, and these people that through the court system and land registry, they're taking people's houses without signatures, without witnesses, without exchanging of contracts, county court stamp. How can they do that if that's not your property? You need to start thinking, people. It's not as easy as what you thought.